back home. What an adventure that was. Got the elk done. And then I went up north to do what I set out to do, which was to go absolutely alone into very remote BC where I'd never been before. And see new sites, see if I could find some places, some great hunting spots. And I did 200 quad miles. And I basically got lost in all those there's old seismic lines all across the province in the north. And with a chainsaw you can get along and get out there in the middle of nowhere using some of those old seismic lines and old logging roads, oil field roads, right-of-ways, pipeline right-of-ways, combination of everything, and you can actually get yourself pretty remote without using horses or backpack, and that's what I did. So I shit pile of grizzly bears. I definitely didn't do as much filming as I wanted to do. It was tough. It was blowing 30 to 50 miles an hour for like a week straight. I could not escape it. It just sucks the life out of that wind. Even all night long, I had a tarp wrapped around the tent. It was just slapping the tent, smashing the side of my head all night long. Get up in the morning, take off from the wind. It just sucked. You can see the last one of the videos I thumped out from that trip. The wind was just brutal. But I'm back now. I'll be here for about a month and a bit, and then I will go back up north again. So a quick note to all the people that I was planning on meeting up with. I just couldn't pull it off. I was behind getting what I was supposed to do. I ended up meeting up with people along the way to hunt with. And at the end of the trip, where I was supposed to go to Dawson Creek and go to a few other places, I ended up having to meet up with some other guys and help them get their moose, which I did. And they ultimately had to rip home as fast as I could with the moose that I harvested. But I'm coming back up November solo. I'll meet another guy up there later on, but I will meet with all the people I wanted to meet with in the province in November. All right, that's the plan. So we'll see whether, depending if it's going to be on the way up or when I'm done November 30th on the way down. In the meantime, one of my friends that I hooked up with, he lived on the same property as me, rural property where I was living previous to this, where I was getting my previous mail. And somebody sent me a package and he brought it with him to hunting camp. Now I should have videotaped it then, but so a very super kind woman named Jennifer Oakes sent me a box of frickin' coffee. Kicking Horse coffee. Sarah freaked right out. She's like, "Oh my god, that's awesome coffee!" She gave me a whole bunch of it. There's like 5 packs of it and a wake up and kick ass hat. Jennifer, I don't know how long ago that was sent. I'd imagine my friends had it for a while because I've been in the new place for about 3 months. And what a kind thing. I don't remember sending you my mail address. So it must have been a little while ago. I guess I could look up the date. But yeah, I got it. More coffee. It's a few people sent me coffee. It's almost like you want me to get wound up and share a bit more emails. Which I have no problem doing. Well, a very kind thing, Jennifer. If you're still out there watching, thank you very, very, very much. I absolutely appreciate that. What a kind gesture. Now, getting on. I got to get some emails shared here. I'm behind. The inbox is jam full of nothing but knowledge. People sharing stuff. And there is a pile of new people here. So many people. What, it flipped 220,000 subscribers the other day. And I guess there wasn't too much content this past few weeks because I couldn't really load much up, but it's coming on fast and steady now, you guys. And to all the people that come here, everybody, basically 100% of everybody that comes here, is a quick reminder for all you new people. There's 100% of the people that come here uninvited. Not one person's been invited, but the door is wide open and everyone's welcome, all right? So for all the people that unfortunately have misery in their lives and they come here to be miserable or demand things or say they don't want me to say something or don't want me to talk about something, you're in the wrong place, all right? So a quick message to you is, first off, nobody here, not one human being here, probably anywhere, cares what you believe or not, all right? That's not what this channel is for. It's not for you. But trust me, nobody cares. You can be here, be miserable all you want. Nobody's gonna care. No one. So, this channel is 100% for the people who have had these shitty experiences. They've joined the club of no return without asking to, like 100% of us have. And This channel is to support all those people, to bring knowledge together from all those people, and figure out what the hell's going on. And we're going to do it together, and that's what we're doing. So if you're one of those mentally challenged, emotionally challenged individuals who comes here demanding shit, or even stating that I say that what I say or how I say it or what I talk about pisses you off, nobody cares. All right? Now, moving along. Back to the people that are sitting around this round table knowledge with me. Let's get into it. Let's get a bunch of people heard. There are so many. And I really, really do not want to miss anybody's. Now, here we go. This looks like it's a long one, but here we go. It's titled 4 Encounters. Here's some shitty luck. Dear Steve, I have to thank you for your courage, caring, and integrity. Having a place to talk without the arrogant bullshittery is benefiting so many people. I'll try to keep this as short as possible. I have 4 encounters I need to get off my chest. 1 and 3 are not Sabe. It's also known as Sasquatch, so feel free to skip them if needed. First off, something for your viewers. Let's help Steve out. The man who's working his ass off for us. If you don't want something read, just don't put it in the email, or at least put it at the end with a do not read out loud header. For those of us who aren't English professors, get on the net and go to app.grammarly.com. Grammarly is a free route website that doesn't just spell check. It's like having an editor proofread your email for free. Verb usage, punctuation, etc. They even have keyboards for Android and Apple. All free with no advertising. Alright, thanks for that. Now to the meat. As Steve likes to say, let it rip. This encounter happened in 1984. No matter how hard I try, I can't remember where it happened. I believe the memory wasn't suppressed by me. That'll make a little sense later. The only reason I remembered was your upload, The Gates of Hell Found in the Woods. This is a little similar. I just got my driver's license and was looking forward to my first solo hunt. My favorite game was squirrel and rabbit. I was armed with my Marlin 22 semi-auto, and the woods seemed very familiar. It had rained the day before, and the woods were wet, so I was looking forward to putting some meat in the freezer. We were dirt poor, and every little bit helped. I got in the woods around 6 a.m. Thing is, the woods were quiet the entire time. No animals, birds, insects, nothing. Just the breeze blowing through the trees. I gave up around 8 a.m., which is early, but with the woods empty, I decided to go somewhere else. Also, I had a weird feeling all morning telling me I needed to leave. The guy told me not to go in, but I was 16 and hard-headed, so I went in anyway. I should have listened. I was following the trail back to my truck when I saw something white off to my right. It was a white tree. That's odd as hell. I live in the deep south of the U.S. It was only in the low 40s or so, which is average down here. Many trees were still green, so white was weird. I turned to get a better look, and it got a hell of a lot weirder. There was a lane of trees like people plant along a driveway. I think they were 12 to a side. They were perfectly spaced, which means deliberately placed. Nature avoids straight lines. What was even more strange is that I'd never seen it before. This isn't something you'd miss. The day was overcast and dark, but the lane was brighter, like it had some kind of hidden light source that I never saw. The trees were the color of old bone, grayish at the bottom, and winter and getting whiter towards the top. Maybe they were bones. The ground was covered in what looked like white moss. The tree limbs were covered in the same thing. Then I noticed I couldn't see any limbs, just moss. I looked at the end of the lane, and there was nothing there. Nothing. Not just the color black or the absence of light. The only way I can describe it, it sounds right to me, is that word, nothing. The next thing I remember is a sharp pain in my ears, like when you dive too deep underwater. I realized then that I was standing on the moss. That scared the shit out of me. I'd walked about 20 feet without realizing it. The pressure wasn't in my ears, it was all over, like I really was underwater, but I wasn't. There was no sound at all, like I was deaf. I was also having trouble breathing, but not from the pressure. Wherever I was, there wasn't enough oxygen. I backed up a few steps and pop, it was gone. I was back in the woods. The lane was still there, and I could feel something pulling at me. My gut was screaming, run. And this time I didn't argue. I 100% believe that if the pain hadn't woke me up, I would have vanished to God knows where. that still sends a cold shiver up my spine as I write this. That's amazing, man, and good for you not getting sucked into the middle of nowhere, wherever that was. I'm 100% certain Dave Plattis would probably be interested in hearing that tale too. If I remember, I will pass it on to him directly to make sure he does, and he might want to contact you. And remember, I mentioned to all of you before, is when you go down a trail, when you go in the woods, and if everything feels wrong and alarming and you're scared shitless, or what was just described here, go back the exact way you came in. That's very, very important. All right? That's very important. You go back the way you came in before you started to sense all that. Okay? Okay. It's very, very, very important. Possibly will prove to be life-saving for many people. Number 2 happened roughly 2 years later. Let's go in deer hunting. I took a Wednesday off and told my parents what and where so they would know. I knew I'd have the woods to myself since everyone else would be at work. I was going to land shared by family and friends and pulled off the road just before dawn. I loaded my 30-06 with 4-inch, 4 in the mag, and 1 in the pipe and started walking. I was carrying 2 extra mags in my hunting vest, so I felt like the king of the woods. I was going to hunt a power line run. I had to walk about a mile to an area where there's some gullies. I was planning on hitting the middle, deepest one, and hang a right for another half mile to get to the power lines. As I started into the deeper section before the gullies, I started to hear what sounded like someone hitting a tree with an axe, loud as hell. About 60 yards ahead, about by 3 o'clock. Loud as in Paul Bunyan having a bad day loud. A second later, I heard the same thing from my left, about 11 o'clock position. I had heard this before, but not here, or that close, or on both sides. I figured someone was trying to prank me and kept going. My gut was telling me to leave, but I was a hard-headed teenager. Not after this day. Now I listened to my instinct. I kept walking and the knocks kept sounding. They were staying roughly the same distance, so I knew whoever it was could see me. I was getting pissed. These dickheads were scaring the deer away. I yelled, "Stop playing. You scare the deer away and somebody's getting their ass beat." It got very quiet for about 10 seconds. I was about to start walking again when I heard several knocks from in front of me. These were a hell of a lot louder. I was expecting to hear a big tree hit the ground. I stood there for a second, felt intimidated, which pissed me off, and then yelled, "Hey asshole, stop making so much damn noise." I walked into the first gully, which was just over my head. I'm 6'2", so it was maybe 6.5 feet. The main gully was on the other side. It was deeper, around 8 feet or so. Again, the knocking came. Just the one in front, loud as hell, like Hercules hitting home runs. That really pissed me off, and I figured the hell with it. The deer were gone, so I started cussing the knocker as loud as I could. When I stopped, it was dead quiet. My gut said run, but I was too pissed. I was bullied as a child and ran from fights until I got tired of it and beat the living shit out of the school bully. After that, I stopped running and started fighting. Not the best idea that day. The next thing I heard sounded like the Incredible Hulk stomping towards me. Now I was starting to regret cussing out. I heard gravel shifting and a loud thud. I realized that it was on the other side of the gully from me. Then I heard breathing. Not just loud, but the volume of air was scary as hell. I had to have a 55-gallon drums for lungs. It had to have 55-gallon drums for lungs to move that much air. Then a scream. It was maybe 10 feet away, with about that much dirt between us, and it was deafening. I was big into car stereo systems, as in thousands of watts, so I know volume. It would take a wall of speakers to create that volume, and the bass was unreal. It went lower than human hearing. Bass so loud you could only feel it. It went higher as well. I had no clue what could scream like that. It vibrated my entire body. I knew that it had to be gigantic. I also knew that if it topped that gully, it would be on me before I could do anything. Even if I shot it, it would still land on me. I started backing up while that thing kept up its heavy breathing. It was also growling on the exhale, super deep. Yeah, time to go. I backed up until I hit the thick woods, then turned around and started walking out. I refused to run. I thought it would trigger its prey drive. The three of them paced me all the way back to my truck. Never saw a damn thing, and that's fine with me. I never went back there again. The king of the woods got bitch slapped off his throne, and I left my crown in the dirt. They can keep it, toss it, or shove it up their asses. Oof. That sound is nothing to be envied to experience, I'll tell you what. Number 3, fast forward 5 years, I was on my way home on a long stretch of highway. It was a 4-lane, cut through some hills separated by trees. As I was starting up the hill, I saw what looked like a gray sheet draped between 2 poles, maybe 6 by 6 feet wide. Square. It made my, what the hell, bump itch. I was maybe half a mile away. As I got closer, it looked more like the pole was on fire and the wind was blowing the smoke, making it look that way. A little closer, and I realized it couldn't be a pole, just gray. Then I noticed that it looked more like vapor. It wasn't blowing beyond the weird thing, like it was boiling away. It wasn't blowing beyond the weird thing, like it was boiling away. As I got close enough to get a better view, the damn thing flew across the road like a raggedy ass 6 by 6 sheet of gray smoke. Still upright, but not bobbing like someone was carrying it, like it was pulled on an invisible wire. It crossed the road and down the embankment in about 2 seconds. When it got to a thick brush at the bottom, it went horizontal and dove into the brush. I was still rationalizing it as something on fire, so I stopped and went down to where it went, in. Nothing. Not a damn thing. I could see pretty far in, but nothing indicated it ever existed. No smell of smoke or anything out of the ordinary. Poof, just gone. Note, it didn't look like the Predator movie, just a sheet of smoke. That's a little frickin' odd. Number 4, fast forward almost 30 years. Thanks to the scandemic, I've had to take a job paying less than half what I'm used to making. It's not much, but I have a family to feed, and pride won't take care of them. I'm presently working the night shift as a security guard patrolling a rich area in a nearby city. One stop is Big Church. It's at the end of my route. This started on a Monday night. I usually do the church early, around 9:30 p.m. I check the doors to make sure they're secure. I felt eyes on me as I pulled into the back parking lot, like someone was staring holes in my head. As I got out of my car, I noticed how quiet it was. No bugs, frogs, etc. Then I heard a squirrel call from the woods around 60 yards away. Remember, I know squirrel calls. This was supposed to be the call warning of predators. The thing is, it was a bad imitation. The pitch and the timbre were wrong. Too much in the highs and lows. Mainly, though, it was way too damn loud. It would have to be a mutant squirrel the size of a cow to be that loud. The calls continued along with the feeling of being stared at as I checked the doors. I yelled, "Whatever, asshole, but your squirrel call sucks ass," and left. This became my nightly routine at the church. My gut said, don't go in the woods, and I wasn't. No sir, I learned my lesson the hard way. The last night of this was in a rainstorm. As I came around the side of the church and hung a right to head to the back, I noticed a barricade sitting beside the entrance to the church kitchen. It's bright orange, one of those cheap plastic deals. I left it there and kept riding. I wasn't getting soaked, but I could help it. I still felt those eyes. On my second patrol around midnight, it was still raining though, not as hard. As I turned down beside the church towards the back lot, I noticed the cheap plastic barricade was in the middle of the road blocking my way. Not set up. It was tossed out on its side. That pissed me off. I had to get out in the rain and put it on the sidewalk. I put the back legs on the grass and wedged the front into the gap the landscapers left with their edgers. I made sure it was wedged in tight and left. It stopped raining for my third patrol around 2 a.m. As I got to the church, the damn barricade was back on the road. Now I'm pissed. I take it all the way back to where it came from and then finish checking the doors. The last doors were on the youth center, which is a separate building in the back. Some calls, same stared at feeling. I walked to the back sidewalk that pushed me roughly 20 yards from the woods. I'll add that I had no idea what a Bigfoot was. I didn't find your channel and figured this out until about a month later. I recognized that stared at feeling from my second encounter. My gut told me that it was the same type of things. My gut also told me I was staring it right in the eye, but those woods were pitch black, so I couldn't see anything. I also somehow knew it was a person, not an animal, not a human. I don't know how I knew all of this, I just knew. Remembering how the second encounter went, I decided not to cuss it out. I started talking to it, and I said, "Would you just leave me alone? Do I come and throw shit in your yard? Go play with someone else." I stood there a few minutes in total silence. Then I went back to my car. After that, everything went back to normal. The irritating bastards finally left. Note, this is a rich folk area. There are herds of white-tailed deer running loose everywhere. At least 3 of the herds are upwards of 20 doe and a few bucks to be seen. There are also huge flocks of geese mixed with a few ducks. These flocks average around 30 or so and tend to sleep in the middle of the road if they feel like it. All of them cross the road at all hours of day and night. I noticed that after whatever was behind the church left, the deer population was very small. The geese as well. The populations picked back up in the next couple of weeks, but still not to the original size. I estimate the deer were less than half, and the geese were at best a quarter. I think I know why. I also checked Google Maps. The woods in question end not far from the church and vary from a quarter to half a mile and are several miles long with several branches. They extend back to a major forest. To me, that explains how they got behind the church as well as why they came. I'm just glad they left. I don't believe these were evil, but I also believe they are not to be trifled with. I'll be happy if I never encounter one again. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving people like me a place to share. It feels like the world is lifting off my shoulders as I write this. I can see why you and Dave Plies are friends. You're both cut from the same noble cloth. This world badly needs more like you, and the need is growing. All of us love and respect you and wish you and Sarah only the best. Please stay safe and stay strong. We need you, brother. Joe. Joe, thanks for that share, man. And we actually, we need more people like you to add to our collection of people, good, honest, hard-working people that aren't scared to speak out and tell the truth and inform their neighbor, right? That's what we're doing. And we are all the same. Now, before I forget, I gotta mention, it feels like somebody's here. You notice how much water's behind me? You see, I don't know if you can quite see it, but that rock, that big boulder right there, it's under the surface of water. Remember, last time I was here, the water was beyond that rock. It is rained, and the salmon have come up, and the rivers are full of fish. But one thing, if I could pass on to every single one of you out there, which I am 100% convinced is very, very important, possibly vital to all of us, is the need to get out into nature, into the real world, and exercise your natural given. That's what I just did. I do that quite a bit, but this last trip for me was 3 weeks, almost a month, and I can't stress the importance of exercising your natural senses. And only having you to rely on for basically survival. I don't mean go out there and sleep with bears, but I mean go out there into the real world, smell the air, take your shoes off and ground yourself out daily. Put your feet on the grass, on the dirt, you ground yourself out. Get that layer of rubber between you and the earth gone. Just at least a few minutes. Just ground your body out and use your senses, your natural given senses. Alright? It's very, very important. Get away from this thing. Just for a bit. One of the frustrating side effects of doing that is the bullshit. The bullshit stands out absolutely clear. Alright? I don't know how to explain. I'm very, very tired right now. I've been home, it's the third day I've been home. I was home one day and I went straight into building the barn. I got up at 5 o'clock both days and went at it. I made a lot of progress. So I'm really tired right now, and sometimes I don't speak as smoothly as I want. I don't think I do, but what I'm getting at is you need to jump out of your bubble. You need to jump out of the bubble. You need to get away from the bullshit, and you need to get back in tune with your natural senses, okay? It's very, very important. You need to ground yourself out, and you just need to do it. If you can't afford to go away on a big trip, go to a relative who lives rural. Go to a campground somewhere. You don't need much. Get a tent, sleeping bag, a tarp. Get a mattress. But get out there. Go somewhere where you can be in tune with the real world. Just for a couple days. Whatever you can do it. Just do it. All right? Trust me. Do it. It makes a big difference. It makes you think very, very clearly. It makes you see clear. Things stand out very, very clear. All right? I can't stress how important it is to do that. All right? I want to pass that on. And the next time I got in front of the camera, I hope I delivered that to make sense. Sometimes I just feel off. Like today, I feel my delivery's off. I'm absolutely beat, but whatever. I'll sleep tomorrow. All right, what do we got? Let's share more people. More people need to be heard. Strange happenings on my elk hunt in New Mexico. Actually, you know what? Just so you guys know, elk and these experiences go down where elk are very, very commonly. Me and Dave actually were talking about that, how common it is for things to go down where there's elk, especially with elk hunters. And that as well goes with the missing hunters too. Hi Steve, I had some strange happenings on my elk hunt last October. I went up early a few days before my elk hunt and started to do some scouting for big bull elk in New Mexico near Cloudcroft. Set up my pop-up camper and put a huge tarp over the top and staked it tight to all the eyelets with rope to the ground, which made it kind of a porch area all the way around the camper in case it rained or snowed. First few days were pretty uneventful. Unusually hot, wearing camo shorts and a t-shirt. Backing out our camp about 400 yards, I noticed a tree bent in an arc tip touching the ground. Never seen a sabe, but knew this type of bent tree was often associated. I took a picture of it. I didn't think too much about it. One night I was awakened by something violently shaking the staked rope and the corner of the tarp. No wind, not even a breeze. A pit bull sat up growling very low toward the corner. Very unusual for him, as he usually is up and running, barking and growling toward any threat. I pointed my semi-auto Bullpup 308 toward the corner and turned the light on in the camper, and it stopped. I sat quietly listening for a while and didn't hear anything, so I went back to sleep. The next day my pit bull and I hiked to the top of the mountain that had burned several years ago, all but an L-shaped band of trees. I had called a bull into 35 yards there previous year and harvested him with old school flintlock muzzleloader. We snuck down edge of the L-shaped band of trees, stopping occasionally to cow call and bugle. When we got to the end of the thin L-shaped band of trees, I walked around opposite side of the trees and sat down where I could see across the canyon and back behind me through the trees and did some more calling. My pit bull lay down on the grass about 15 yards from me. After a couple series of calling, my pit bull sat up and began to growl real low, looking back behind us toward the band of trees. He doesn't ever make any noise when I'm hunting, so I thought maybe I'd called in a mountain lion or a bear and maybe he could smell it. I could see all the way around me, but I couldn't see anything, so I glassed into the trees but never saw anything. That night a blizzard blew in and dropped 2 feet of snow. I guess I'm the only one that didn't know it was coming, as when I got up the next morning, freezing, I got a little worried as all the other hunters camped down the road a few miles had left. I went into Cloudcroft and got a cabin, and after snow stopped and road crews had cleared roads, I headed back to get snow off my tarp over my camper before I collapsed my pop-up. On the way to my camper, I spotted 5 bulls laying in a clearing up near the top of a mountain. I got my bull with the 308. Spent 3 days packing meat up the mountain and didn't have any other strange happenings. I couldn't quit thinking about the rope and the tarp being shook violently, and my pit bull growling, acting scared twice though. I know no human would be stupid enough to play games like that in the middle of night during rifle season, and no other animal could shake a rope so violently. I sent some research into sightings and encounters in this area and have learned there are way more than I ever would have thought. Use my name if you like, Dwayne H. Dwayne Hopland. Alright, Dwayne, thanks for that email, man. And You know, that description probably doesn't sound like too much to the people that are sitting here reading, but you and I both know that if you're an experienced guy out in the woods hunting, especially solo, and if you're trying to describe the rope and the tarp shaking violently, I understand exactly what you mean. You mean violently, right? Like substantially, obviously. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have shared that with us. And I don't know why they do it. I haven't a clue why. I don't know why they toy with us this way. I honestly haven't a clue. I'd like to know why. It's almost like, in a way, that some of the things that go down quite often, it's almost like these things are cowards in a way, right? I mean, only a coward messes with people from the shadows. Only a coward violates the personal space of people and then runs off into the darkness and makes sure they were never seen or never heard. But they still persist in tormenting innocent people, like a coward, right? I mean, if you got something to say, you got something you want to display, well, knock on the door and say it or do it. Do it. Do you know what I mean? In a way. Kind of babbling, a little tired. Anyway, I somehow I start to, a lot of these experiences, a lot of things done to innocent people is done with cowardice, I think. Alabama being. Steve, I'd like to share a story, as I've heard very few like it. But after hearing a couple of stories you shared with this color being, I am motivated to pass this along. When I was 18 years old, in central Alabama, I was taking my girlfriend at the time home one night, traveling northbound on a major highway. To my left is the oncoming traffic lane, a deep drainage ditch, a steep embankment that's maybe 6 foot to the top, where it flattens out with rough ATV trail on top of it that wouldn't be much wider than a pickup truck before it hits a solid tree line. While driving 55 miles per hour, I noticed a flash of something catch my eye on top of that hill. In my area at night, you must always keep your guard up for white-tailed deer flying in front of you, especially when it starts getting cooler. As I turned to look, this thing stands up on 2 legs, takes off running the direction I was driving on top of that plateau, and as soon as I was like, what the F is, that's not a deer, it zigzags off the hill. I mean, literally zigzags, not straight down off the hill, and ran directly into the side of my truck, going under the truck, and my rear passenger tire runs it slam over. Now here's the kicker. This thing was white all over, like a white long-haired dog that stays outside has been bathed. Before impact, its face literally came right up to my driver window, and I was staring this thing in the face less than a foot away. I could have damn near licked it if it were standing still. Keep in mind that while this happened, the whole slow motion thing was going on, as it seemed like I stared at it for a few seconds. It had a face that was human, but heavily bearded, and due to the lighting conditions, all I can make out are dark circles around the eyes, making it appear like the abominable snowman. Hair was all long and matted, and long enough it was flying and shaking around as it ran. I can't describe how fast this thing moved. I was parallel with it when I saw it, and it had time to run down there, cross a lane, and run into the side of my truck as I was going 55. It was almost like it wasn't touching the ground, yet I could see its legs moving. My girlfriend saw it perfectly well, as I did, and she screamed, and it terrified her. She wouldn't let me stop and check it out, as she was almost in tears. I pull over a mile or so up the road at a church to collect my thoughts. I thought I might have run over a woman running from someone, and her hair was just flying all over, because what else could be running on 2 legs, right? So I went back, got my flashlight, and checked the ditches, and didn't find anything but blood. The next morning I told my parents about it, and two came out to look at my truck. I was so scared to death I ran over someone. Got to my truck, and there's a large dent in the side of the truck and blood in the rim with white hair that's maybe 2 or 3 inches long. I'm a deer hunter my entire life, and I know what white hair from a deer looks like when you gut shot one. I was going to collect samples and send it to whomever. My dad convinced me that it was a deer that reared up right before impact, making it look white vertical. He was an avid hunter his whole life. He knew that wasn't deer hair. Thinking about it now, there is no way he could have. So that's why I didn't. Interestingly enough, my truck was dusty from normal teenage dirt roads and such. There seemed to be a handprint where it put its hand out to embrace the impact. Imagine dragging your hand down the side of a dusty truck, leaving a four-finger trail. Another reason at the time I thought I ran over a person. That night bothered me for months as I was checking the papers constantly for a hit and run in the area. When I was 18, there were no camera phones and social media. You'd have to be a wealthy kid to have a black and white screen Nokia bar phone with the Snake game on it, LOL. So I couldn't call for help, so no pictures of the hair and blood. I'm 40 years old and I can remember that like it was yesterday. I have a vivid memory of his face. I found your channel maybe a month ago because it turns out there is a white creature called the Alabama Whitebang. I recently found out doing some research on a white Bigfoot, many sightings in the state of this type of creature. I almost forgot that this creature didn't strike me as being huge. I'd say maybe 6 foot, but definitely not 7 foot or more. Had broad shoulders and slender, like a tall, very fit man. I'm glad my girlfriend was there to confirm what I saw, and nobody's going to tell me this didn't happen. I don't give a shit. I love what you're doing, Steve. You're the man. Thank you for all the time you put into this. I've told this story and been made fun of many times, but I laugh right there with them because I know how crazy the story sounds. I don't wear my feelings on my shoulder. I don't give a damn who laughs because, hell, I do. It was an amazing experience. I mean, not only did I see a Sasquatch, but an albino one. Try to pull that off at deer camp and see what happens, LOL. Watching your channel has made me realize that I didn't before. There's been many times in the woods where that walking, hear a noise, stop, start crap has went on, or the really bad feeling I'm in danger and need to book it. We all just pass that off as being a sissy because nobody talks about it and don't want to be a sissy guy. Just add me to the list of thousands of seers and believers, Steve. God bless, and always a huge roll tide. Roll tide, brother. P.S. No alcohol or drugs of any kind were used, nor ever after the events that took this place. I'd also like to encourage the listeners writing in to not leave out the good stuff they always claim to share in later email. Give us the meat and the beans now, man, if you got them. Someone has to know something more than sightings. If you say you got them, don't leave us hanging. Rant over. Unanimous? Unanimous? Or anonymous? Okay, man, I'm going to guess that was a typo and it's anonymous. I won't read your name out, but thank you so much for taking your time to share that. What a crazy experience, man. I couldn't understand. Did you run over top of that thing? Like, did it go underneath the truck? Did you go bump bump? Or did you just slam into the truck and drag his body down the side of it, down your quarter panel? And you know what? Don't sweat it about the hair and the blood. Who gives a shit? You know, David Plata, Scott Carpenter, and a handful of other people, they obtained over 110 DNA samples, including blood and flesh. The scientific community goes like this: F you. And that's what they're going to do. So I say, F you back to them. We don't need them. All we need is each other, and that's basically all we got anyways, is each other, right? So don't sweat it about the hair and the blood. It's been done, and it doesn't matter, okay? What does matter is you saw what you saw, you know what you saw, I know what you saw, and tens of thousands of people here know what you saw, and they've seen it too. And that's a fact. No amount of laughing is going to change that. It's not going to happen. Thanks again for sending it in, man. Appreciate it. Absolutely appreciate it. Let's do one more, and then I'm going to get out of here, and tomorrow I might go off into the mountains around here and do a whole day of snooping around and sharing emails. Alabama and Indiana. Steve, my name is Corey Pfeiffer. Feel free to use my name. Please forgive my grammar mistakes. I'm not a good writer. Please forgive me a screwing up reading. I'm not the best reader. While visiting family near Holtville, Alabama, Forrest decided to do some armadillo hunting. In hindsight, this is probably a bad idea as the bullets could ricochet. Anyways, the area we were in was very secluded private property with lots of timber. We had a lake on our right and timber to the left. When I looked towards the timber on the left, something started drawing my attention that way. I don't know how to describe it other than it felt like I needed to look that way. Then I noticed a swaying motion from behind a large tree. It looked like a huge arm with burnt orange shaggy fur on it. I didn't say anything to the people I was with because I didn't want them to freak out. I've heard similar stories on your channel of them swaying. Not sure why they do that. Me neither. I haven't a clue. This is about 10 years ago during the fall. Hoosier National Forest. My brother had an encounter while hunting the Hoosier National Forest this past January. A cousin, my brother, and 2 friends set up on a ridgeline spaced out about 100 yards apart. My brother was on the very end of the group. They were waiting for deer to clear the thick brush below them. It being the early hours, it was still dark out. After being set up for a short while, my brother heard a branch snap in the thick brush below him. My brother thought a deer was getting ready to come out of the brush. Then it occurred to him that was a thick branch for a deer to break. He said after that happened, this thing started to whoop. He described it like whooping, similar to a monkey, but it was trying to speak words into the whoops. Right after it stopped, one of the other guys down the line shot a deer. I don't remember if the other guys heard the whoops, but when they all got to the deer, they started getting tree knocks on either side of them. Our cousin, at that point, tells everyone we need to leave now. Our cousin doesn't scare easily. They were followed by the tree knocks all the way back to the vehicle. I told my brother that he probably ruined the Sasquatch's breakfast. Again, sorry for my grammar. I hope this helps someone if they've seen anything in those areas. Sorry for your loss, Mr. Macaroni. Animals become family members and hold a special place in our hearts. I have other encounters that I've heard from friends and family, but I don't know if third-hand accounts are acceptable to share. P.S. You live in a beautiful place, my friend. I hope you see that part of the world someday. Take care, and I hope your move and remodel goes smoothly. Dude, thanks. Corey, thanks for that email, man. Absolutely appreciate it. And make sure you keep speaking openly and honestly in your community with all your friends about the topic. No matter how many people laugh, 100% guaranteed somebody, the people you speak to openly about this, they know somebody who had this encounter, these experiences. They know someone. Guaranteed. Everywhere I go, people come up and talk to me, recognize me from YouTube, and everywhere I go, somebody approaches me and they got a story, or they got a story of somebody who's related to them, or a friend has a story, somebody has a story. It's so common, it's absolutely freaking ridiculous. The amount of people coming forward now is mind-boggling. Right? The proof's been done. The proof's been done ages ago. I'm getting tired. I'll nip that one in the bud right now before I go on a rant. I've said it a million times about the people who keep saying, oh, well, there's sufficient proof to lend, for the possibility of a Gigantopithecus bullshit story again and again and again. I don't know what that was. That sounded weird. Anyway, before I start ranting, the proof's in. The people are coming forward. The people are talking with courage and bravery now. Now more than any time previous, guaranteed. And we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to get to the bottom of it. Oh. Anyway, I'm going to get going. I got lots to do, lots to catch up on. I got 3 trail cameras on the other side of this river. I got to figure out how I'm going to get over there and go retrieve them. Who knows what's on them by now, right? I will be back tomorrow, and I'll be back every single day until every single person gets hurt. Period.